Well, we've done it. We made it to the final retail deck of the Robotech collectible card game. Today we're going to take a look at Breetai's Forces, the last of the decks, as well as the last of the Zentradi faction within the game. We will have one last review after this one for the beta deck that was released before the game was officially printed, but that's more of just like a slightly altered version of the two-player starter, and it'll just be kind of for posterity's sake to take a look at it. But as far as new cards and cards that we can actually build with and sink our teeth into, this is the last of the set. Let's see what we got. So we start off with an action card. 3-cost Escape Capsule. If a Zentradi pilot would be destroyed in battle, this turn return the pilot to the base zone face up. That's a solid, oh yeah, makes sense, that's a rare. That's a solid action. That's 2 of your rares right there. Infiltrate. 3-cost, you control Rico, Braun, or Conda. Target player reveals their hand and you may select one of his cards. If you do, he discards that card. Oh, okay. So that's, as far as I know, this is a hand destruction deck, so that starts to be the theme there. This is a rare as well. So, not a bad action either. But that is a little unfortunate. Burning 4 of our 5 rares right out of the gate is, on just actions, is a little upsetting. It would be cooler if we had some, better units later, but we'll see what happens. As an action, we've also got Manual Override Beam. You control Breetai and the Zentradi flagship. Discard 3 cards, return all Zentradi mecha back to your base zone. That's really strong. We were talking about that action in the last Azonia's Forces deck that lets you... there are a couple cards that you could discard a card to bring back one of your units from the battle area to the base area. This lets you discard 3 to bring all of them back. If you're going for a wide deck, you would definitely want to run 3 of this. Massive Bombardment. You control Zentradi Vessel. Turn target location face down. Move it to the proto area zone. That's really, really strong. That's a really cool artwork too. Hard to kind of tell what it is, but they're just bombing the hell out of the SDF-1 there on Macross Island. Awesome. But you just get to remove a whole ass location. That's pretty strong too. Breetai himself, 2 copies. He's a 3-cost 2/1/0. Like we mentioned with the other Zentradi decks, they are giants, so they are actual units themselves, but they're also characters, so you can still only play 1 a turn, so you gotta be careful with that. He does get +1/+1, or give a attacking unit +2 weapon. Not a bad stat line. 2/1/0 as a 3-cost is a little low, but let's see what his action is. Well, your opponent has 7 or more cards in their discard pile, and this character is not piloting a mecha. This unit cannot be destroyed while attacking. Okay. So that makes sense, and it works well with the hand destruction theme. It makes sense that his numbers are low since he can't die. Braun. 2 copies of Braun. 1-cost 1/1/0, +1. When it attacks, target player discards a card. If he does, he draws a card. Well, it doesn't really work a ton with the hand destruction element of things, but if the point is to have your opponent have multiple cards in the discard pile, if that's more of like the focus of the hand destruction, then this isn't a bad card. But if the goal is, as we go through and see if this is more of a serious hand destruction focused deck, or if it's more of like a discard generation deck, we'll see how relevant this guy becomes. Exodore. 2-cost 0/1/0. Bad stats. But advanced target player discards 2 cards. If he does, he draws 2 cards. Okay, so we're still sticking with that theme of discard, draw 1. Although, nice thing, you could use this on yourself as well if you're trying to draw better cards. Conda. 1-cost 1/1/0 +1. When it attacks, target player puts the top card of their deck into the discard pile. Okay, so this is clearly going to be keep a number of things in your opponent's discard pile. Okay. Still really, really interesting, different deck than the rest of them have been, that's for sure. Target opponent puts the top card of their deck into the discard pile as an action. Not bad either. I wonder if there's going to be enough cards to make a mill deck. Rico, when this unit attacks, target player puts a proto card into their discard pile. If he does, he puts the top card of their deck face up into the proto zone. Okay, cool. Well, that is actually nice. They choose one of their cards and get rid of it in their energy, then they have to make the top card of their deck another energy. You know, I think you probably could get away with a mill deck with your opponent drawing 3 cards a turn, plus you making them draw extras, plus you making them mill. You could burn through 50 pretty fast. +1 weapon, 1/1/0. Maybe he'd give +1 to whatever he's piloting. As an action, target player puts their proto card in the discard pile and then puts the top card of the deck into the proto zone. So same effect that the actual pilot does, just as an action. Zentradi Guard, basic, gives +1 weapon while it's piloting something. Normally it's just a 1/0/1. Target attacking Breetai Force gets +1 weapon. Decent little action buff, but really just your 0 cost vanilla kind of guy. He does give +1 weapon while he's on board something though, so that's pretty good. Battle Pod, 5 DP. 1/1/1/1. Solid things there. If your opponent has 5 or more cards in the discard pile, it gets +1 weapon. 5 discard pile. Funny. So he's a 1/2/1/1. Not a bad effect. And target attacking Breetai's forces gets +2 weapon. That's a great action as well. Battle Pod, 7 DP. I bet this asks about 7 cards in discard. Oh, what do you know? Yep, 7. Wow. Though this one's actually really good, and especially for a common. 2 cost 2/2/1 while there's 7 or more cards in your opponent's discard pile or yours. That's pretty good too. You could do kind of a self-mill thing to sculpt your hand into something and still keep these stats high. This mecha gets +1, +1, and +1. That's really strong. A 3/3/2 for 2. If your opponent has some cards in discard pile, this is a great card. Better late game, obviously, but still pretty good. 9 DP. Here we go. 9 in the discard pile, +2, +1. 3 cost 3/3/2. Target player must put the top 2 cards of their deck in the discard pile. So more just mill actions, also strong. And I haven't mentioned it, but your opponent does lose if they mill out. So there's definitely a merit to that. This could be kind of frustrating. Battle Pod, blockable. 1/1/1. When this unit is blocked, target player must put the top card of their deck into the discard pile. Okay, so if I'm going to swing at you with this 1/1/1, you're either going to let me get the 1 battle point, which is fine, that gets me closer to my win, or you're going to mill a card, which gets me closer to decking you out, which is also sort of closer to winning. That's a really cool card. I would run 3 of that. Battle Pod, destructible. 1/1/1. When this mecha is destroyed, target player puts the top card of the deck into the discard pile. Here we go. This is your de facto blocker in the deck then. Just block a unit while it's attacking, you blow up, and your opponent mills a card. Battle Fighter Pod, blockable. 1/1/1/2. Slightly better stats than the actual battle pods. When it's blocked, target player puts the top card of their deck into the discard pile. So it's kind of the exact same effect as the blockable Walker, except this one is just a little bit faster. That's pretty good. Fighter Pod, destruction. When this unit attacks, target player puts the top card of their deck into the discard pile. 1/1/1/2. So this one's really weak. Your opponent's going to kill this real fast. But if they do, it's just a 1 cost, and they sacrificed a good blocker to stop a 1 cost guy. Otherwise, they're going to mill cards. Heavy Artillery, destructive. 2 cost 2/2/2/2. Start of the attack result step. If this unit is not defended, target player must put the top card of their deck into the discard pile. Okay, so now getting into the 2 cost cards that do the same kind of mill effect. Target Breetai's forces gets +2 weapon. This is a pretty cool card too. If your opponent didn't block this, then they mill 2 cards. Wait, is it mill 2? Mill 1 card, sorry. Light Artillery, counter strike. 2 cost 2/2/2. When this unit's attacked, target player puts the top card of their deck into their discard pile. So that one's this is another one of those examples like they had in the Azonia's Forces deck, where I'm going to swing with this every turn for 2/2/2, and you are either going to let me have it and just give me 2 battle points, or on your turn, you'll try to kill it so I stop scoring 2 unblocked battle points, and then you mill a card. Your call. Officer's Battle Pod, destruction. 3 cost 4/3/1. That's pretty good stats. Can only be piloted by a Zentradi officer. Okay. When it attacks, target player discards a card. That's good. That's getting into more of like the actual physical hand destruction. That's pretty strong. We don't have enough of the hand destruction yet. The rest of this deck is going to have to do a lot of that if we're going to go for like a hand removal focus thing, especially in a game where you draw 3 cards. But still, not a bad card, especially with the stat line. And as an target opponent discards a card. Officer's Battle Pod Destroyer, 4 cost 3/5/2. Can only be piloted by a Zentradi officer. Advanced target player puts the top 2 cards of their deck into the discard pile. This is awesome. This card is super good. 5 defense means advancing this doesn't put it really at risk of dying in battle because it's a 5 defense. It's going to take a lot to kill this. If your opponent wants to dump that much resource into removing this off the board, let them. That effect is great. As an action, target Breetai's forces gets +2 and +1. That's a great action effect as well. This is a really cool card. I would have made this a rare. Powered Armor Mail Cannon. 3 cost, 3/3/1. Can only be piloted by Zentradi male pilots. Yep, male power armor, makes sense. Discard X card, unit gets +X weapon. Okay, this is a good just bomb card. Your opponent is hopefully going to have low cards in their hand anyway too, so discarding a card yourself or multiple cards isn't necessarily awful. Uses ability only once per turn, makes sense. Powered Armor Defender, 3 cost 2 star 1. Okay, I think that's the first star unit we've seen in the game. Start of a skirmish that gets X +1 armor, where X is the total weapon value of the opposing unit. Oh, that's really cool. So whatever this blocks, its defense is 1 higher than whatever its attack is. That's awesome. But it's at the start of the skirmish. So if once your opponent buffs the unit, then this doesn't continue to get buffs off of that. But this is a really cool card. I would run this for sure. Thank you. Goodbye. Carrier, 4 cost 5, 12/1 vessel. All right. Space only, makes sense. Most of them are. Advanced, search your deck for a 1 cost Zentradi mech and put it into the base zone. That's really strong, especially as a 12 vessel. You just send this up once a turn and you get a free play a 1 cost unit from your deck. That's pretty solid. Action, target unit cannot intercept this turn. Focus, please. There we go. And that's also pretty good. Makes it just so that one of your guys can't be blocked, or can't be, well, specifically intercepted, but that's where most of the blocks would happen anyway. So that's a pretty good card. That action's really good. Or not that action, that advance effect is really good. Destroyer, 3 cost. We got 1 copy of this. 12 attack, 12 defense, 1 speed. Advanced, target player puts the top card of their deck into the discard pile. Okay. Each player may only mechanize 1 unit this turn. Now we're getting into some clever stuff. I would run 3 of this card for sure and only have it be an action. If I'm in a deck where I'm purposely focused on trying to make my opponent mill out of their deck, and so I'm using my actions and things to do that, I'm not going to be focused heavily on getting guys on the board. I'm trying to focus on a different win condition. This card says your opponent can't try to they can't try to overwhelm you while you're doing so. It gives you 3 options to try to be focused. Jeez. To try to slow the game down a little bit and to keep your mill going on. Now this just got interesting. This card's really cool. Flagship Breetai. Oh my goodness. Alright. You control Breetai or Exodor. 5 cost 15, 15/1. Huge stats. Your opponent cannot draw any cards during their draw phase. If your opponent cannot draw any cards during their draw phase, they lose the game. Cannot draw any cards, they lose the game. Do they not already? Huh. 1 second. Let's take a gander at these rules here quick, because I was under the impression that you could mill out and lose. So let's see what it has to say. at the end of a turn. So you check victory by having 25 points. You can see that here. But in the regroup phase, draw 3 cards. Huh. I wonder if they changed that. So I could have sworn that in the original set of rules that it said that you couldn't do that. Well, maybe I've just been wrong this whole time. But, on the other hand, this card does at least give you a card that says your opponent loses if they can't draw. So it still keeps the deck out option going. You just have to have this card. Plus, you can play this and all it has to do is survive a turn. You set this down. If your opponent can't kill you that turn, you win the game. That's pretty good. Makes sense that this is your rare. Sucks that you only get 1 of it, because you would definitely run 3 of this. Recon Pod. 2 cost, advance. The target opponent cannot use advance abilities this turn. Pretty good effect. Action, can't use advance abilities. Makes sense as well. 8/8/1. Not bad. This one is land space, so that's good. Re-entry Pod. 3 cost, 0/8/1. Advance, put a 1 Proto-Cost Entrati Mecha card from your hand in your base zone. Return 1 Proto-Cost Entrati Mecha to its hand. Not bad. This card gets a... again, just like that other one, advance it, your opponent... or you get to play a free 1-cost guy. And then lastly, Scout Ship Vessel. 2 cost, 8 cost... or 8 attack, 8 defense, 1 weapon, or 1 speed. You have to control as Entrati Officer. As an advance, target unit cannot use its payment abilities this turn. That's cool. So if they have to pay for something, then they get to do some effect that says they can't do that. So that's crazy. Huh. Okay. Target unit cannot use its payment abilities this turn as an action. Space only again. Uncommon. I guess this card makes sense. It makes it... This deck is clearly just a control-focused deck, trying to keep your opponent from getting to do anything with their turn, really. Huh. Okay. Well, I learned something, that the milling out makes you lose. I was under the impression that it doesn't make you lose. I was under the impression that it did, because I remembered the rules of the 2-player starter was if you ran out of cards in your deck, you just shuffled them back and kept playing. Maybe with the regular rules, maybe the confusion I had is that you don't shuffle, you just can't draw cards. Oh, yeah, actually, I do remember that. That is in the rules. If you can't draw cards, you just keep playing, but you don't get to draw cards. This deck says if you can't draw cards, you lose. Okay. I think this is a really interesting deck as well. I think there's a lot you could do with this, and I'd be really curious to see that. It's nice how different the two sort of Zentradi decks are. And then if you combine these with the 2-player starter, you've got a good Zentradi card pool. There's probably something really cool to build here. I think the aggro-y swarm thing that Azonia's does is probably more fun. But the Breetai's deck would be really frustrating to play against, especially fully maxed out. Very cool. It's been really interesting to see what all these different decks do and what they mean, what they present to the game. It sucks that there's some of these, like the Masters and the New Generation deck, that only get, 25 cards per faction, where you've got the Zentradi getting, 60, 70 cards, and the Earthfeds getting that many as well. It's a shame. I think there probably was something really cool to be had here. I think the when we've played with the games that we have played, they've been really cool. The combat step is really interesting, and I think there's definitely a game here. It's a shame that it never went any farther, especially for a property as cool as Robotech. Either way, thanks for coming along for the ride. We've been through 6-7 of these videos now, so thank you so much. And we've got one last one, the beta deck, to look at. And after that, maybe we'll talk a little bit about actually building some decks and trying to do something cool with it. Thanks for hanging out.